But first, more signs today that the economy is going backwards and more signs that we need reform urgently. And I just wish the government could get on with it. Today, the International Monetary Fund said Australia, its economy was slowing, and a lot, from 2.7% last year to just 1.7% this year. And that puts Australia's growth rate this year behind that of Hungary, Ireland, the United States, New Zealand, Holland and even Greece. Well, the Prime Minister today blamed this vague thing called uncertainty, and of course foreigners particularly.
The revision by the IMF overnight reflects the uncertainty of the times in which we live, Mr. Speaker. Right. And that uncertainty extends to the global environment, of course, which I'd hope the Leader of the Opposition would be familiar with. I certainly am. I have been for some time. We've been fashioning budgets for years now, Mr. Speaker, to deal with the increasing uncertainty there is in the global economic climate. He would also be familiar with the real impacts on the economy of the terrible drought that is now impacting on the Australian economy.
And it's true, the IMF did warn the world's economy was also slowing, although not by as much as ours. It's down 0.3% to an annual growth of 3%.
The global outlook remains precarious, with a synchronised slowdown and an uncertain recovery.
And as you heard, the only local issue that the Prime Minister blamed for Australia's much bigger slowdown was the drought. And the Treasurer asked us to look on the bright side.
The IMF had Australia's economic growth at 1.7% in 2019 and 2.3% in 2020, but the Australian economy continues to grow.
And again, that's true. The economy is still growing. But here is the thing. If it is growing, it doesn't feel that way. Not to most people. Does it to you? People's wages are barely rising. Nearly 2 million Australians are out of a job or looking for more work. Household debt, that is huge. And this mismatch between what the government says, economy is growing, with what you actually feel, which is ouch, that's because of a lot of that economic growth is actually a trick. It comes from huge immigration. 240,000 more people brought in every year. Now, of course, that gives us a bigger economy, more workers, but it does not necessarily make your share of the economy much bigger at all. All that you notice is that your cities are getting crowded. But what else is the government doing about this economy? Well, Labor's shadow treasurer was asking that too.
Why does the Treasurer pretend that global factors are the primary reason for our floundering economy when the Reserve Bank, Deloitte Access Economics and others say Australia's weak economic growth is homegrown?
Now, that's actually an overstatement, but there is a grain of truth to that. The government has cut taxes a little, but that isn't working. And the Reserve Bank has slashed interest rates a lot, emergency lows, and that's not working either. So what is left? Labor, of course, says, oh, well, spend more money, like it always does. Spend more money. And it's scary stuff because Labor leader Anthony Albanese today was replaying the advice that the Rudd government took when it started that massive spending 11 years ago that's blown every budget since.
When we were at the height of the global financial crisis, I'll never forget Ken Henry saying we needed to go early, go hard, go households. What this government is doing is going slowly, going soft and going nowhere.
But are we really going to blow the budget all over again when this time we've actually still got a budget in the red and a huge deficit left behind by that last big spend? I don't think that's going to happen. And in fact, the last Treasurer to balance the budget was Peter Costello, and he today said the government had just about run out of tricks when it comes to the old, spending and lending stuff.
I just don't think there's much stimulation left in monetary policy.
And as Costello says, what's needed now is economic reform. I mean, changes to the way we work and we build, getting more productive, getting more efficient. You know, exactly the stuff that the government is not doing. Now, for me, these reforms have really got to include slashing electricity prices. I mean, really slashing electricity prices and slashing the green tape that's had the New South Wales Environment Court and its Land Court ban or restrict coal mines for ludicrous global warming reasons. But reform means making tough decisions, taking on green extremists, taking on unions. This government, with a majority of just one seat, well, it isn't feeling brave at all. And so we sail on with a slowing economy that's hurting a lot of people now. The retired, interest rates are so low. And the poor, well, how can they invest in the two bubbles that are still going up, shares and property? Change is needed. But when will we get it?